I'm here with Bob Chipman, MovieBob.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Welcome to ConBravo.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, how are you enjoying yourself so far?
Oh, this is great. I love Canada. Very nice.
So, you are a movie critic, as the name MovieBob would imply, you know.
Yes, sir.
What is your earliest film memories?
My earliest memories are weird because, like, I can remember learning to walk. So, like, I remember watching, honestly, like, the earliest, like, seared into my brain memories was, I remember that, I actually know this, my sneaking down, the way that my house was arranged when I was a young kid was that my parents could watch TV in the living room, and if you were real quiet, you could sneak down the stairs and look through a little set of, bars that were set up to kind of turn an open stairwell into not an open stairwell. If I was real quiet, I could look through and see what they were watching. And usually I would come down just to see if they had pizza and if I could have some. But I happened to peer through, and they were watching the 1980s Alan Quarterman movie, King Solomon's Mines, which, if you haven't seen it, is like a dog shit Indiana Jones knockoff built out of an Alan Quarterman movie with Richard Chamberlain, who, of course, is the most, macho, kick-ass action hero you can imagine, as you think Richard Chamberlain, is the guy to run through the jungle and fight lions and cannibals. And the movie was shit, but I remember seeing them like, this is a movie so bad that the evil cannibal guys actually do put the hero and heroine in a big pot and try to cook them like soup.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's where the cartoons got it. That must be real. Because, there was a lion, and the lion was real, so I figured everything else in the movie must be as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and that's probably the earliest memory I have of, like, an actual movie. I'm sure they showed me, like, Snow White or some shit before that, but, everything before He-Man is kind of a blur.
So, what do you attribute the recent rise in comic book-based movies to?
Generation X getting older and being able to spend more money. You also have a lot of comic book studio. I wish I had like a smart ass answer for it, but really it's just the reality of demographics. Hollywood is very concerned with money. They are very concerned with not being able to pre-sell a product. And no one wants to be able to take the risk of walking into a movie studio and saying, hey, here's this totally original idea, because they don't have any math to back it up. They can't look at that and say, if you go in and say, hey, I got this totally original idea movie, Idea X, they can't open a balance sheet and say, well, Idea X made money before, so it's a good bet. Whereas with, like, a Batman movie, you're going to say, guys, we should make another Batman movie. They'll pull open their books and they'll say, yeah, we pretty much always make money with Batman movies, so let's make another Batman movie. So it's really more a matter of all of this stuff, like licensed properties. There's a lawsuit going on right now about Adam Sandler's Candyland movie. Yeah. Adam Sandler wanted to make a live-action movie out of Candyland, the board game, and it's being held up because no one can figure out who owns the rights to the revamped version of Candyland that had named characters in the 1980s, and that's holding it up. And now, realistically, Adam Sandler should have just been able to walk in and say, hey, I should make a kids movie where there's candy. But, they don't want to take a risk on an original property, so it's, okay, Candyland. That movie Battleship got made because the guy said, I got this idea for a movie about aliens fighting the Navy instead of the Air Force. And they said, we don't know. And then he came back and said, okay, what if this is Battleship? And they said, oh, yeah, Battleship, cool, yeah, we have sales figures for that. Yeah. So that's probably what's doing it.
Do you think CGI has replaced storytelling?
No, I don't think so. There have always been effects-heavy movies. A lot of people my age and older have a lot of nostalgia for, like, the Ray Harryhausen movies and the live-action Jim Henson puppet movies. A lot of those movies are as who cares about the story, just plug some monsters into it, as anything made today is, but they were charming, and we remember them, and they used practical effects. I love the Ray Harryhausen movies to death. I love Clash of the Titans, Sinbad, Jason and the Argonauts, but, like, especially, like, the later two Sinbad movies, if you replace those with CGI, they'd be Stephen Sommers movies. It is what it is. So I think there's always been good movies and bad movies. I don't think CGI has notably made anything worse. All it's done is make things easier so that people can get things out. And sometimes that's a good thing, and you can get, like, Lord of the Rings that you've never have gotten before. On the other hand, it means someone can make Sharknado.
Do you think Hollywood, this new business model Hollywood has, just bigger and bigger properties, do you think it's sustainable?
No. No, it's not sustainable, and they know it's not sustainable. That's why they keep making them bigger and trying to find new revenue streams in China, but it's not a matter of just being able to say, hey, let's cut our money, because there's so much other infrastructure built up about it. You know, they can't say, well, we're not going to have a giant production, because then all of a sudden you've got all of your grips and your electricians and your carpenters and your builders all get put out of business. You know, you can say, oh, hey, let's make a bunch of lower budget movies, we'll save money. And then you're going to have a bunch of unemployed, union workers in LA who suddenly don't have jobs, and they're a strain on the system. And it's a whole other thing. I know it's not sustainable, but they also can't just turn it off. You know, I'm sure they would all love to go and make $15 million movies and turn huge profits on every one of them. But these big movies employ hundreds of thousands of people and prop up a huge part of especially the West Coast economy. So it's something is coming. Eventually someone's going to make a big movie that no one's going to go see, and there's going to be a problem. But they're going to keep it going as long as they can, just because they need the work.
Now, let me see, I have to check the German director Werner Herzog said, academia is the death of cinema. It is the very opposite of passion. Film is not the art of scholars, but of illiterates. What are your thoughts on this?
Herzog says a lot of things. Herzog is brilliant. I think he has a point there. There's a tendency to overthink a lot of movies, and I do think that you generally don't get great films made by people who have studied film as opposed to being in love with it. But I do think that you can get good people out of film schools. You know, film schools can do a lot. It's ironic that the people sitting around who most analyze Werner Herzog movies are not the sort of people that he would associate with or want to make movies about, but that's just him. He talked about setting up a film school of his own once, but he said he wouldn't teach them how to make films. He'd take them to the woods and run like an Outward Bound experience, and then they'd be ready. But he's a wild dude, but he's a treasure.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time.
Hey, no problem.
Enjoy the rest of your time at ConBravo.
You too, friend.